Hey everybody, it's Tatiana with Back to Facts. So I'm not driving. You don't need to worry, I'm parked. I just wanted to do a quick update about the situation with the border and the government shutdown. So on Prime Time Live with Chris Cuomo after the president's Oval Office address, I noticed Chris Cuomo was saying, well, why is he pushing for a wall? Or why was he pushing for a wall? And now he's talking about a barrier, and which is it? Which everybody's been saying, a steel barrier. But we basically already have that. So what's the problem? Why can't we just do it then? And then Representative Luis Gutierrez of Chicago, who's been a long time advocate for immigrants, said that I have never voted for a scintilla of a barrier, but I'm willing to vote for a barrier if we can get DACA and TPS fixed. So that's huge. That's absolutely huge, because President Trump offered to keep all of the Dreamers under temporary status with deferred action for childhood arrivals, which was President Obama's brainchild, and also TPS, which is temporary protected status, which includes refugees from a lot of different countries. El Salvador, when they had that horrible, crazy mudslide. I mean, it's been in place for a while, but Trump has said he's ending it. So for advocates of people who come here illegally, in search of a better life, or also fleeing violence, seeking asylum, should be ecstatic about getting this stuff fixed in exchange for better border reinforcement. The Democrats have already admitted that we need border reinforcement. They say that there are studies saying a concrete wall doesn't work. Understand, okay? There's debate on that. However, it seems like they are starting to understand that resources are better spent fixing the wall after it's built, instead of running around with helicopters trying to chase people who are crossing in very, very hidden areas. Do you understand that there are some areas that are very rugged, that don't have a barrier? It's not that difficult to understand. We've needed to complete whatever barrier we've had for a while, but for some reason everybody got their hackles up ever since Trump announced his candidacy. Now, I know it's not no reason, but here's what I want to say. For a couple years now, we've had the media and many of my friends and the resistance just absolutely livid with outrage because they feel like Trump, when speaking to his audience, is using dog whistles about brown people. Here's what I want to say. The impact of people coming here without any regulation and just because they decide to come here and live is not zero. It is not nothing. Now, yeah, they're not eligible for welfare. They're not officially eligible for Medicaid, though in California they do get Medicaid because on the form it says we don't ask you your status. They are eligible, however, for emergency medical care, which also can be having a baby, which does cost taxpayer money. Also, the education of their children. Now, the property taxes in the apartments that they live in are paying for that education, so we'd have to take that into account. Now, one big thing is some immigrants, it's hard to tell exactly what percentage, do pay taxes hoping that this will help them get amnesty somewhere down the road. This is a common belief, so it's not out in left field that they pay taxes. And so the thing is, though, many thousands and thousands use fake social security numbers. It's kind of like a don't ask, don't tell situation on W-2s, and it's not really enforced because not every single company uses E-Verify. They don't get those social security benefits, and according to the Inspector General with the Department of the Treasury, people whose social security numbers have been stolen were never informed in previous years about the identity theft. Another report by the Social Security Administration, though, said that illegal immigrants are actually keeping the Social Security fund solvent, and I will link to that report, because they're not getting the payout, because if a number is they can figure out very quickly if a number doesn't match, so they're not going to pay the person that's using the fraudulent number, but they'll sure take tax money. Let me qualify this with one thing, however. A very little known fact is that when these immigrants pay taxes, they actually get the child tax credit for each child. And if they don't use a fraudulent social security number, they can use a tax ID number, or ITIN, that the government gives. Basically, you can say you're a subcontractor or sole proprietor and get an ITIN. So some are paying taxes, but some are paying zero taxes because they don't earn enough and they have enough dependents, and they're getting a child tax credit. And when they say refundable child tax credit, that means you didn't pay anything, but you're still getting money simply because you have a child. So that is a huge amount of money. This is the thing. There have been citizens in this country, many of them in rural areas, who have had their identities stolen, who feel like they don't have a good job. They see the presence of immigrants who have come here unauthorized, and they feel like they're being lied to by the press, because this information about fraudulent social security numbers, you can't even find a single newspaper article about it, except maybe since Trump took office, like they were actually prosecuting people for a fraud. Now, I really don't blame the illegal immigrants for using fake social security numbers, because oftentimes there's a pipeline where it's like the employer will tell an agent or a contractor to go and get labor, and then basically the whole thing is already taken care of and managed. So the people come in, oh, you need me to work. Great. Well, this is how it works. And here's the number that I'm going to use. I know it's fake, but don't ask, don't tell. This is the way it goes. Everybody does it. So this is why I don't put those crimes in the same category. Just like I don't put the actual crossing in the same category, because I know it's complicated, and I know that there have been major problems in Mexico and Central America for a long time. And we are a nation that is compassionate. However, it's not serving our country, it's not serving our citizens, and it's definitely not serving the undocumented immigrants who come here. Think of it this way. So we're going to say that anybody who feels like it can come in, which they don't come at a port of entry, all right? And then we're going to say, well, they're here now, so they have all the rights of citizens. Well, that means that those people made a decision about the population of this country, and not the country itself. That's wrong. And I'll tell you, people have been very angry about President Trump saying that illegal immigrants vote in California. But I'll tell you, I found studies about it. I will link to them in this video. And here's the thing. Why would anyone go to a polling place risking arrest and vote? Well, first of all, the motor voter ID signs you up automatically. Second of all, many immigrants actually don't know that only citizens can vote. Some advocates have said to them, well, you live here, you should make a difference. And even there's a movement in California to allow them to vote, because they're voting on things that affect their communities. Understand that, okay? I understand that. Now, how many actually did it? More than I think people think, because more people vote in California. More people have voted in California than there are eligible voters. Yes, we want the people who live here to be represented properly, right? And of course, green card holders can't vote either. So wouldn't it be good to get everybody viewed the same way and legal and out of the shadows, having their Social Security withholdings put in a fund that's actually for them, and getting their Medicaid and everything else that gets withheld from a W-2 officially getting withheld? Because otherwise we're just propping up a false economy where employers can get a competitive edge by not going through a W-2 and having withholding, and the situation never gets better, because they don't ever want that to change. It's their gravy train. So this is why those rallies that Trump has gone to, this is why the people are shouting, build the wall, because they have had personal experiences, often feeling like their government and the media don't care about them, because they're not telling them the whole story. This is why I don't believe that they're racist. I don't believe that the American people are racist, even the ones who voted for Trump. I think there's a small percentage who are, but they're ignorant. They're either ignorant or full of hatred and misguided. And I don't believe Trump is racist either. I think he's been watching this situation for a very long time, and he agrees with them, and he's the only one who's been saying this stuff. Next, I've said this in other videos. When people talk about those whose children or family members have been murdered or killed by an illegal immigrant, what they're saying is many of these people have come back and forth, back and forth, back and forth with impunity because there are certain smuggling routes that are easy, especially for men, and they just do it. They figure it into their cost of living. And let's say they commit multiple DUIs. They're not actually supposed to be here. It's not that any one group is more prone to crime. Everybody understands that they're not. I mean, maybe Sean Hannity doesn't, because he says there's like this many murders in Texas and this. Okay, well, yeah, there are. You can't prove that an illegal immigrant or a certain race is more prone to crime than another. Number one, the statistics are pretty hard to come by when people are undocumented, and then you have the federal prison system and you have the state prison system. It's very difficult actually to really settle on the numbers. But number two, it's just like if a citizen went and killed somebody after serving a long prison sentence, we would say, you know what, our government has failed us. Why is this person so lost? And the recidivism rate is where it's at. Well, it's kind of the same thing. People who shouldn't be here and have not gotten their status fixed for one reason or another, and have been reoffending and offending and behaving badly, they should be deported. It's when the more that Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi and the media say there is no crisis, the more they act all horrified and think it's racist to talk about how we're not deporting people who should be deported, and then they're going and killing people. The more the American people are going to feel like they're being deceived and they're not being represented either. And I just want to say, finally, we can represent all people. We just have to fix the immigration system. And the longer we drag this out, the more American people are going to feel betrayed. That is why I support a compromise. I support the latest technology to shore up those smuggling routes. And I fully support fixing those DACA and temporary protected status, because we do have a heart and we do welcome people who really have a reason. We have limits and caps on those. Don't let anybody tell you that we're not going to have limits, because we do have limits. And, I think everyone just needs to get over this idea that Trump is using dog whistles and come to the table and make a deal. Thanks.